Many times people resist sexual temptation and still fail. Why is that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. What we find happening in the same story, Genesis 39, 1 to 12, we see a lot of dynamic, we see a lot of interesting things occurring.
Okay.
Joseph, although he was tempted or invited to sin by Potiphar's wife day after day, the word of God says that he refused to the same degree. He refused. He rejected her advances. And every time she would come to him, day after day, he would reject her advances. Now, what's important to keep in mind is that although Joseph had done the right thing in saying, how could I do such a wicked thing and sin against the Lord? She still came back to him. And it shows us as Christians that we can't think that the enemy will leave just because we did the right thing one time. Right. There must be an understanding that the enemy is coming to make us fall. He wants to make us give in. He wants to make us fail the Lord. And in the same way, we have to have that firm resolve that we're going to honor the Lord irrespective of. So even though she came day after day, he did not give in. So day after day he was resisting. But the word of God doesn't stand there. It doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop with resisting her. The word of God says that on one occasion he came in to do his duties and she dragged him, she grabbed onto him and said, come to bed with me again. And the word of God says he ran from her. In other words, he quickly got away from her presence. And the word of God speaks to sexual sin. There is a resisting, yes, but there is a fleeing as well. In 1 Corinthians 6 verse 18, the word of God says, flee from sexual immorality. All of the sins a person commits are outside his body, but he who sins sexually sins against his body. And I think it's so important. It says flee, run far from, move away from it. Not just move away from it, but move away quickly from it, from the atmosphere of the failure. Is so important. And that's why that was one of the reasons that Joseph did so well, because resisting is not all that we're called to do. We are called to resist the devil, we're called to resist, but we're called to avoid settings that can cause us to compromise. And as it relates to sexual temptation, we must consistently be avoiding those settings that open the door for failure. If you look at the story with David and Bathsheba, David was in a place where he was tempted sexually, but there was no resisting. David inquired. David did all that stuff, and David moved into sexual sin. He inquired who she was. He got close contact with her, and the word of God says that he slept with her. So he didn't run from it. He didn't move away quickly from the atmosphere of failure, and then he fell in sexual sin. So we have to learn from it. So Joseph teaches us beautifully that there must be a running away from, there must be an escaping from the very atmosphere of sexual temptation, because the pull is so great that he's saying, don't think you can stand in the face of it and pass. There must be a running from it. So a Christian who is only resisting, but not avoiding, moving quickly away from the atmosphere of sexual temptation, will find himself falling into sexual temptation, will find himself failing. The word that we have from the living God is not just to resist. We have flee, run from, quickly escape from the very atmosphere of sexual temptation.